Welcome to the Business Growth Spotlight, where we shine the light and talk with business leaders from all over the world to share their insight and expertise so we can all grow together. I'm your host, Heidi Schock, and the co-founder of the Spotlight to Scale Accelerator, where we help companies drive revenue by making sure they're seen as the authority and go-to expert in their industry versus just another product and service. And today, I am joined by an incredible gentleman in Hawaii. And this is so exciting to me. I don't know why it's so exciting. I live in Florida, very tropical, but Hawaii is just a whole nother level. So welcome to the Business Growth Spotlight podcast, Tom LeNoble. I'm so excited to have you with me today.
Heidi, it's great to be with you. I'm so happy you asked me to join you.
I'm so grateful for your time and I'm excited to dive in. So, Tom, can you kick us off by sharing a little bit about who you are, your company, and your role within it?
I'd love to. First and foremost, I'm a philanthropist. It's the main reason I do what I do. And I support relevant women's issues, first-gen students, performing arts for young people, feeding people. I also have a nonprofit with my CPA, and we support even more women's issues, such as San Francisco General discharges domestic violence survivors, and we offer them the opportunity to be able to have acupuncture or Pilates to get reacquainted with their bodies.
Wow. That's
I'm
incredible.
also the CEO of the ACE Academy for Coaching Excellence, an ICF certified training academy that's been around for 25 years. And I'm a coach, and I am also a professional speaker, and I'm soon to be author.
Oh, congratulations. Can you
Thank
tell me
you.
a little more about your book that's coming? That's exciting.
Yes, I can. The title is My Life in Business Suits, Hospital Gowns, and High Heels.
Ooh, I can't wait till that comes out.
Well, that's all you get till you read the book.
Okay, that's all we're going to get, ladies and gentlemen. So we have to stay tuned and stay connected with Tom to find out more about your this book. So, Tom, your career spans major corporation. Well, first, what inspired you to start your business? Let's start there because I know you have a big journey, and I know a lot of it's going to be in the book. But can you share a little bit here about your journey? What inspired you to start your company or establish your company, and how does your consulting work integrate with your coaching philosophy?
Yes, I retired being retired to be inspired.
Mm.
I had the good fortune of a wonderful career. I did well, and I think you have a responsibility, I know I did, to give back. And as a result, I had been a coach for many years. I learned coach in the late 90s and used it in my corporate career. But it was something that made me really want to get involved to help people and support the people that I care most about, which is underserved communities and women and first gen students and the things I named earlier. I use the skills I learned all through my corporate life, many things that I learned along the journey. And I think it's really important to share wisdom and share knowledge. And so that's what I use in my practice in coaching and professional speaking. I talk to things like taking risks, resilience. I've also, and believe it or not, the survivor of two, what used to be called terminal illnesses. I've lived with metastatic prostate cancer for the last 13 years, and I'm still here.
Yes. Yes, yes. Amazing. So, resilience, what, in your opinion, in your view, because you've been obviously extremely resilient in everything you've gone through, and I know that's a lot about what you coach around and help people become resilient and move through challenges and create amazing things. So in your view, what constitutes true resilience, and why is it essential for personal and professional growth?
You know, it reminds me of one of my favorite quotes by Maya Angelou. Every storm runs out of rain.
Mm.
And what I really mean by that is we all face things in life that seem insurmountable and like they're the biggest challenge we ever had. And I believe those life challenges are where we learn. So at the other parts of life, we get to execute and use what we learned, knowing that that cycle may start again sometime in our life. And it's the ability to really get to the other side, the ability to find a way to continue on, whether it be something related to your job, your health, leadership. In the corporate environment, I do a lot of work about people and about conflict in the nonprofit sector. I love boards that are locked up and can't get past some issues to be able to dismantle that and move them forward.
Mm. So can you share your methodology and helping the individuals that you work with navigate life's challenges with strength, clarity, and compassion?
Yes, I think I'll give you a recent example. I'm working with a nonprofit here on Maui. It's a very large 50-year-old performing arts nonprofit. And in doing so, I'm going to lead their board retreat. And after hearing what was going on, I shared with them that we needed to do pre-work. And so I've met with all of the key stakeholders, all 18 of them. And out of that, I learned about some interesting, we'll just call them people issues that needed to be resolved before we got into a retreat to not take them there. And so I'm working with those people individually and helping them get past some things and work with some issues they've got going on so we can optimize the retreat. You know, another example, which sounds really simple, but it's really important to me, is one of my favorite restaurants in San Francisco. I was watching this 19-year-old, I learned was his age, and he was bussing tables. And I watched him in action, and I asked him one day, Gio, why aren't you a server? You do everything but take the order. And over the course of a few months, he gave me every excuse from being shy to, I learned that he was studying to be a pilot. He actually at 19 flies planes by himself, and
Wow.
that he thought that he might make too much money and be a waiter forever. Well, after talking with him for a while, I realized none of those things were true. He just was apprehensive about being able to work with people. And so he came to me one day and said they had offered him the position as a server. And I said, what'd you tell him? He goes, I told them no. And so, I said to him, what if you just say, let me try a few shifts and see how it goes? So he was willing to do that. And today he's a server at that restaurant. So that's a very simple example. There are other complex examples. Like right now, I'm doing a 360 performance review for the executive director of a 15-year-old nonprofit in San Francisco, and working with the board and with the executive director and their direct reports on identifying some things for someone who is doing an incredible job of how to even optimize further.
Wow. Thank you for sharing all of that. So, who would be for our listeners, and they're like, I'm loving what Tom's doing, and I think I might need, Tom's help. Who is it that you work with? Because it sounds like you work with both organizations and
I
peoples.
do.
You
I
do.
do. I
Okay.
work with individuals, I work with nonprofits, and I work with corporate clients. I do all three. And I'm like I guess I find my niche in no niche. One of my things that I love to follow is people talk about finding a needle in a haystack. And to me, what that means is all you need to do is remove the hay to find the needle.
Mm.
And so in working with people, I look at how we can remove that pieces of hay to find the needle or the golden answer they've been looking for. And often it's not what they see in the beginning, but as you work with people, corporate, nonprofits, you learn what the real issues are and are able to make an impact.
Yeah. So, what key competencies do you focus on when you're working with new coaches, training new coaches, and how do you ensure that they're prepared to make a meaningful impact when they move on?
Yes, at the Academy for Coaching Excellence, we use an ontological model, which means we're interested in ontology means the state of being. And we're interested in how you're being, not what happened to you at 5 or what went on in your relationship. We're interested in how you're presenting yourself. It really starts with empowerment. Our base course is Mastering Life and Mastering Your Life, excuse me. And then we move there if you want to go into our coaching program to a coaching program. But the base course is for everyone. And you learn some really amazing things like your basic assumption, your standards of integrity, this really interesting process of how to view others called the green lens. It's really, really quite powerful.
Wow. So let's talk about leadership and how you've held many having held leadership positions across various sectors. What common leadership challenges have you observed, and how do you address them in your coaching?
There's two that come to top of mind. One is high growth, fast growth, and how you manage it. And the other is people. And they're directly connected because if you're going to have growth, you need people. So from the people side, it's about how you hire how you develop people, how you keep them engaged and motivated, and making sure that you're looking at what's next for them, not just what next for the company. And then high growth is how you break down operational issues to look at how you're going to meet the growth, not reactively, but proactively.
Mhm. And you, at the beginning of our conversation, Tom, you touched on a little bit about your career and the companies that you worked with. So your career spans major corporations like MCI, which is now Verizon, Palm, HP, Walmart, and Facebook, Meta, as well as successful startups. So how have these varied experiences shaped your approach to resilience coaching?
You know, there's one thing that was a base. I get asked all the time, Tom, you work for these really large companies and you work for these startups. Which do you like better? And my answer is, I don't like either one of them better than the other. That's not what it was about. What it was about was people. What it was about is growth. What it is about is managing and developing people to do better and be able to better themselves in the long run, not knowing where we might end up in life. I've been really fortunate in my career and the opportunities I've had. And, you know, it's the best part. I looked up at my email one day and I recognized this name, Jill, and it didn't sink in. And then I realized back in MCI, and as I read the email, I actually started getting tears in my eyes as I remember hiring this class of new trainees for customer service. And we only had part-time positions. We had filled the full-time, and she was a new single mom, needed a full-time position. We didn't have it. And at the last minute, somebody dropped out. And I called Jill to say, I've got a position if you could be here tomorrow. You know, she had to worry about childcare. You could sense what was going on over the phone. Well, in her email to me, she told me that opportunity changed her life and that she was making six figures now. And it all started with that position.
Wow.
Those types of things are what make it all worthwhile. Some of the people that work for me at Facebook, fresh out of college, their dream job, deferring business school, law school, are now SVPs or VCs. It's amazing to watch that people grow and develop in those things, and to think that you had maybe just a little hand in it.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. You never know the impact that you're making on someone and what they're going through behind the scenes. So, wow, amazing. So you shared, Tom, that you're a philanthropist and you're deeply involved in philanthropic efforts focusing on underserved communities, as you shared, women, youth, and education. How do these commitments influence your coaching and consulting practices?
You know, I really look for people where there's an opportunity for them to grow, to do better, and to excel. And so many people come to me that are in those situations, whether they're in their career and they feel like they're boxed in. I end up talking with a lot of people, which is really relevant right now, that have lost their job. And I find one thing I find with so many of them, they've got a foot back in what happened and a foot trying to move forward. And if you try and walk down the street, you can't do it with a foot stuck behind and a foot moving forward. You've got to bring them both together at some point. So it allows me to use the skills I have in coaching for people like that. And first gen students, I love to talk to students. I love to go to schools and talk to students and colleges because you can give them some of the wisdom, and their questions are remarkable. I was on a plane recently and I was sitting with the guy next to me. We started talking and his parents were in front of him, and it was his last semester at school. And we identified finally that he was Gen Z, and we started sharing stuff, and he learned about my background and he just wanted to pick my brain. And I think allowing yourself to be a vehicle for that, to engage. And then I was able to take that and talk back with him and learn from him what his challenges were, and hopefully had a little effect on motivating him a little further. And the relevant women issues, I think, are about, let's face it, we've made a lot of inroads in women in the workforce, women in society. We've got a long way to go. And I happen to be a big supporter of that. And so I work with women in those situations. You know, I also work with a lot of corporate executives. I don't weed out the men. I work with them as well because they have challenges often with people issues, which are really, really helpful to work, or they bring an operational issue. I often notice that what they come with is not the real issue. You look behind it and you find something else that's hiding once you move the hay out of the way.
Yeah, I love that. Move the hay out of the way. And thank you for all your work with that you do with the you with everyone that you work with. Especially for me, my heart is with the women and the youth. It's like as a single mom, I have two teenagers, 14 and 15. And also I have a podcast I was sharing with you called Be She, which stands for Be Seen, Be Heard, Be Empowered, supporting women on shining their light and stepping out into creating what they want to create and releasing the fear of, maybe whatever's brought them down, to inspire them to, do something that they want to do to create magic in their life. So I really appreciate all that you're doing. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
And
yes.
you faced significant personal challenges, including life-threatening illness and loss. So, how have these experiences that you've gone through informed your coaching approach and also your upcoming book?
I think it creates a tremendous amount of empathy, compassion, and an understanding of the use of personal will. I think we don't allow ourselves the space to realize how much we can do and how much we can accomplish, even when we're running up against the storms of life. So when I work with people and I hear about their storm, I try and create possibility, create the possible out of the impossible, and a way for people to look forward no matter the challenge.
Mm. So can we talk a little bit about growth, business growth, since it's a business growth podcast. And I would love if you could share, like you've been in business, you've been helping so many people in tremendous ways, both corporations and individuals, and as well as all of the incredible work you're doing with your philanthropic efforts. Can you share, like, what has been some of your biggest challenges or biggest, one of your a challenge that you've had as you've been growing your business, and how did you overcome it?
I think one of my recent challenges, there have been many, but one of the recent one is I do a lot of my work spontaneously. And as I work more and more at it, I realize there's a systematic approach to it that you can have and still be spontaneous. So that's one of my new lessons. I believe if we're not always learning, we're missing something in life because there's always something to learn. One of the big lessons for me, I can use Facebook as an example. When I went there to interview, which is a whole nother story for a different podcast, but when I accepted the job, as I met these people, they were all young enough to be my children.
Mm.
And how did I work with that? How did I not be their parent, but be their manager and their person that was looking after their future and developing them as they move forward? And that brings a unique challenge. And I'd like to think that I had an impact on their lives and in what they learned about their future and what they grew into. It's really, really important to me to be an impact to others. And I often work on things in my philanthropy. I don't even know who the people are often, but I feel like what is the quote that I'm going to mess up? Planting trees that I'll never see the shade of. Because, you take a first gen student that is excelling in school who may not have the lights on at home. I feel like there's a ripple going to happen in that family of change that could happen out in the future that I may never know about.
Mm, absolutely. Wow, incredible. And and I'm sure you made a huge impact on many of those people that you led at Facebook for sure. I have no doubts at all. Just for spending this little time with you. And so what is, if for those listening and they're growing their business, and whether they're a startup or they're in the scaling section piece of, you know, part of their journey, what are some of the ways that, like, how are you staying visible? How are you staying out there? How do you create, your clients that come to you as far as your
I
market
think
goes? Like, what's working?
I've been really fortunate. I haven't had to do much marketing for
Mm.
myself, and I just need to get in front of somebody, and usually I have success. And in fact, I have to worry about that. Sometimes I overcommit, which is one thing I recommend to your viewers to be mindful of, is we can get so engaged in what we're doing that we forget about taking care of ourselves, which is not a good thing. There's a balance. It's one thing I've learned through all of this, is there definitely is a balance in life, and that taking care of ourselves and breathing fresh air and moving and other things are critically important. But I think that always remembering that you're in service to others. Always remember why you're doing what you're doing. And always remember that just like they're experiencing and moving along in their path, to remember where you came from and remember what role you have in helping others is critical to me. One of the things I know I share with a lot of corporate clients I work is I've had a number of jobs where positions I've held where I was responsible for HR and customer operations. And I've had CEOs come say, Tom, what are you doing? These two things don't go together. And my response is, oh, but they do. They're both customers. One is internal, one is external. And to always remember that your people are your most valuable asset, for without them, your company will not grow. How you treat them, how you respect them, how do you motivate and grow them is critical to your business.
Mm, wise words. Uh, I only have two more questions for you, Tom. One of my last ones is if you had a magic wand and you could say poof on one problem, one issue that you're having right now, inside of your business, what would that be?
Wow, just one, huh?
Or
I
two.
think
If you
that
have a couple, it's okay.
no. I love taking magic wands. Magic wands are fabulous because if
Yeah.
you use a magic wand properly, you set aside your coulda, woulda, shouldas, and you really try and grasp what it was you would do. You know, I have a long-term vision of my book that's coming out, my coaching, and my professional speaking feeding each other.
Mm.
And setting those up and making that all happen is really like, feels like really risky. And I think one of the big lessons I've learned is to trust, to put it out there, believe in it, trust it will happen, separate yourself from the timing, separate yourself from what it may look like, and just keep believing and marching toward it. One of my main reasons I'm doing all this is to feed my philanthropy. I want to do more of what I'm doing, more of what I'm giving, especially in the times we're living in. And as a result, that's what I'm hoping to do. Well, that brings a lot of challenge because it brings one thing that I will share with your viewers: trust.
Mm.
Trust in yourself, trust in others, trust the process. Take risks. I call it riskability, the ability to take a risk.
I love that because it's scary taking risks, right? It's stepping out of your comfort zone. We don't know what's on the other side of it. What if we fall on our face? What if we fail? What are the repercussions, especially if we have responsibilities and people relying on us for certain things. So, but I agree with you. We can't create a big ripple if we don't take risks and everything
Yes.
that to create change, or if we want something different, we've got to do something different, which means we get to step out of our comfort zone to create different, because different only happens when we're stepping outside the box. And that box is the box that's around us, that's keeping us safe,
Yes. And the
right?
rewards can be amazing. I remember
Right.
sitting at my desk at Palm and I got a phone call one day and it was a recruiter from Facebook. I didn't even know what Facebook was. I thanked them, told them I was working my dream job, traveling internationally, had a corporate staff. I was having a great time. And a buddy called me and said, you just blew off Facebook after I referred you to them. And through a conversation, I re-engaged. I took a huge risk. I was fascinated by the product. I was fascinated with the generation's willingness to share information. Look what that risk did for me. It allowed me to do what I'm doing today.
Wow. It's so good. So good. So, Tom, if we were able to sit down in a year and revisit this conversation and bring you back on to the Business Growth Spotlight podcast, which I would love to do, what would success look like for you in the next 21
Success
months?
would look like just as I defined it.
Mhm.
My book, and even my second book, because it's waiting to happen,
Yes.
would be a success. The speaking and coaching would work well with it, and I would be generating revenue that I could use in my philanthropy work
Mm.
and also feed the business to improve it. But my real mission is how I can use it in philanthropy. So if we sat down in a year from now, I'd want to share with you how that all worked out.
Well, I can't wait to hear all about it. So we're going to make that happen. And I also want to definitely like keep in touch because I want to know when this book is coming out. We can bring you back on to support you in promoting it. I would love that. I love the title. I love the purpose that you have and the passion that you have for your purpose and your deep connective why, which is one of the biggest takeaways that I hope that you listening take from Tom, because that's one thing that's super important. No matter what you want to do and create, no matter what stage of business you're in, or you need to have a strong why. And that why isn't about making money. Yes, that's important. We make money and generate revenue because we get to keep the doors open and we get to create the financial like freedom that we want to create. But we got to go deeper on what that why is that the money brings. And for Tom, it brings philanthropy and helping more people. And so I invite you to think about that today after listening to Tom. What is your why? And if it's money, great. What does the money bring you? And many times you have to go deeper and deeper and keep asking your questions. Well, what does that do? And why do I want that? And why do I want that to get to that why? And I call it the why that makes me cry. When I started my business, it was to be home with my kids. That was because I was a stay-at-home mom, and now I needed to go out and figure out what I was going to do to create money. I worked two jobs as I was building. I got burned out. I had to step away from my business, but that why of wanting to be home with my kids again. So if they called me from school, I could easily go get them and bring them home. That was really what drove me. And so I invite you to find that too. Tom has found it. He's living it every single day, making a huge ripple. He's making waves, months. Like, what is that? It's not called a monsoon. What is that? What is it called? It's a tidal wave.
Either way.
Yes, a big tidal wave across the world. So I hope that you do the same. But it starts with choosing something different for you, stepping out of the comfort zone and trusting. I love that word that you used, and you used it in three different ways, like trusting yourself. What did you say, Tom? Trust yourself, trust.
Trust yourself, trust the process, and trust that it may not happen on your time and may not look
Time.
like what you defined it to be, but trust. You know, the hardest part comes when something's about to happen. We call it the point of mastery. You're at a point where it seems the hardest that you're going to overcome something or reach something. That is your point of mastery when you're going to learn something that is really important for the rest of your life.
Ah, so good. So trust. And again, that timeline is really important because many of us, we expect it, we want it in a certain timeline. And when it doesn't happen, we give up. And that's the point where we got to keep going, right? That's the point of mastery, or one of the parts of mastery, just like Tom's sharing. So, Tom, for our listeners who want to reach out to you, how can they connect with you?
TomLeNoble.com. I'd love to talk to them. Everything you need to reach out to me is there. And take a look. And I'd love to hear from you and let me know how I can help you. I'm really, really a believer that I don't have all the answers, but I bet you I can find somebody that does if I'm not the right person.
And I know for a fact he will. I know he knows a lot of people who can help you and support you. If he can't, he'll figure it out. He'll help you with it. So reach out to Tom, connect with him. Please let him know that you heard him here on the Business Growth Spotlight. Would so appreciate that. And if you are enjoying Tom and I's conversation and you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe. Also, if you're listening to us on one of your favorite podcast platforms, please leave us a review and share this episode with your friends who can gain wisdom and get supported by Tom, because he's dropped some really ton of gold nuggets here today. And we want to make sure his message is spread wide and far. Thank you, Tom, so much for being here with me today and taking time out of your day in Hawaii to spend a little time with me today. And is there anything that you'd like to share that I didn't get to ask you?
I'd just like to thank you, Heidi. I think what you're working on is so important to everyone at all ages and all disciplines. It's just great to share what we've learned with others. And I thank you for doing it. It's really great work in the world.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. And thank you again for being here, Tom. I look forward to bringing you back and also getting your book. When is there a timeline when we can expect it? Like we should mark our
Uh,
calendars.
Probably April-ish, if
Oh,
everything
like
goes
right around the
well.
corner?
Yes,
Oh,
yes, yes.
I
It's in
didn't
the
realize it was
finals.
so soon.
It's in the final stages. It is. I finished editing chapters 6 through 9 yesterday and was having a great time doing it. I'm getting more excited than I was, and I was already excited about it.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, this episode's probably going to come out right around that time. So for you listening, the book is either coming out or it's already out and you got to go grab it. So definitely go to tomlenoble.com, reach out to Tom, and we will also have some updates on that as well. So thank you again, Tom, for being here. Thank you for listening to us, to Tom and I today on the podcast. And if you are looking to gain more visibility, you're feeling like you're just not being seen in the way you want, and you need more eyes on your business and on what you want to create in the world and the ripple effect that you want to create with your business, and you're feeling stuck, go grab our Spotlight to Scale blueprint. And you can go to spotlighttoscale.com/blueprint. It's a free download, jam-packed with information and steps that'll get you started. So, and you can reach out to us with any questions. Again, reach out to tomlenoble.com, and we will see you on the next episode of the Business Growth Spotlight podcast.